Hello and welcome to The Writing Life. I'm Steve Long and so pleased to have as my guest today Barbara Drake. Barbara is, and I don't know the right term, is it former or retired professor or?
The word is emeritus.
Emeritus.
But
that sounds
now
better
people
yet.
have started saying emerita if you're a woman to make sure that you get the Latin ending that's feminine. But I can still, you can be emeritus.
Okay.
Everybody knows what that is, but that means that you still have your status as a full professor,
Okay.
which was what I was when I retired, and I still have wonderful privileges such as faculty rights to using the library and research and so on, and,
Sure.
and the swimming pool.
Okay, well, all good stuff.
I'm happy about those.
Sure. And Barbara, I was asking about your publishing. The ones that I know about, there's a couple of books of poetry, am I right?
Sure.
And which I love, and I wanted to say this, I'll say it now. You're one of my favorite poets. And I've told you before, I think your work is so accessible. And every time I read one, I think, oh yeah, I had an experience like that. Or if I didn't have an experience like that, at least I know what you're talking about, I can relate to it, and they're moving, and I think you're terrific.
Oh, thanks.
So
yeah,
that's
I
that.
like to be accessible.
Yeah, but the other thing is, and I want to ask you a little bit about this terminology. You've done 2 books of, again, is it memoir or creative nonfiction?
Creative nonfiction is how they're listed. Memoir, they could be memoir. It means memories of your life, but they are often called creative nonfiction, and memoir maybe being more used to talk about a whole life of somebody, you know, career in the army or
Sure.
whatever. But it's memoir and creative nonfiction.
Okay. And just because this is about writing, it sounds to folks like an oxymoron, or it could, creative nonfiction.
Oh, well, nonfiction, my book is finalist for the Oregon Book Awards, which
Right.
is exciting. They get lots of nominations, but it's gone the step beyond that, and it's a finalist. So on April 11th, the Literary Arts State Organization
Sure.
will be holding the awards ceremony in Portland. And I won't know whether my book is the final or not.
Right.
But it's a great thing because they're all good books that make it
Oh,
to
sure.
the finalists. But there are different categories, and mine is in creative nonfiction. There are also categories for fiction, poetry, young adult, I guess. Let's see, I can't remember. Children's, anyway. There are graphic novels.
Sure.
And there's a category for nonfiction, which distinguishes it from creative nonfiction. And it includes books like Tim Palmer's book about a guide to Oregon rivers.
Okay.
So you see it's a guide and an information book, and he writes the text in it, but it's not creative nonfiction,
Sure.
even though he's a creative person, but it's an information book more than a memoir.
I went a couple of years ago to that event, and in fiction, The Orchardist won, and so I got the book and read it. It's amazing. Congratulations to you. That's such an honor. That's no small award. So
My book is about living in Yamhill County too, so life in the country in Yamhill County. So I think that's fun to be here and talk about our area.
So just to get it on camera, can show the cover of your book, Morning Light,
Yeah,
and then the previous one. Tell me the
Peace
title.
at Heart.
Peace at Heart, and I love both of those.
Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, I have sent you things about sheep and sheepdogs, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I know you guys have a lot of fun.
yeah. I have 2 new border collies. My old dogs died year before last, and I thought, am I too old to get a new puppy? And I ended up getting 2.
Well, that'll take
so
care
I'm
of that.
working hard on that.
Sure.
I think they keep me young.
Yeah. Oh, I think animals are a delight. So I wanted to ask you, I know you're very busy. What is your writing schedule? How do you produce this work and do everything else that you do as well?
Well, how do I do it? I write it's slow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slow process because when I first, for example, let's see, where shall I start? I'm in 2 writing groups, but they are both poetry groups that I meet with, each of them once a month. And we get together and talk about our work. And so I'm always working on new poems because I think, oh, I can't go to my writing group without a poem.
Mm-hmm.
And I write lots of ideas. And then when it comes time to get together, I'll take something I've got, my ideas, my drafts, and go through them and find one that feels like it's getting there. And I will develop it into a more or less finished poem.
Mm-hmm.
And take it to the groups, and they go over it, and I'll revise it some more, and so on. So that's the poetry writing. Now, the creative nonfiction, the kind of work I'm writing is such that in some ways you have to wait for the things to happen that you want to write about.
Mm-hmm.
So the first book, Peace at Heart, was about moving to Yamhill County and buying a place in the country and learning all kinds of things like how to deliver a lamb and how to
Sure.
do other stuff,
That-
dealing with the vineyard, doing all that. So it was kind of a learning book, and it took me at least 10 years to write all the essays that were in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then some time goes by, and more things kept happening that interested me, so I started writing more of these, and some of them were published, and some of them I just wrote and kept, and then I thought this could be another book. So I looked at it, and it's more like a book about, as I just mentioned, getting older and thinking, when I first moved to the country, I thought, and my husband and I thought, when you retire, we'll move back to Portland where we had lived. Now I've been retired from Linfield for 8 years, and we're still staying put. So it's kind of
Sure.
a book of stories about why we're still there,
Mm-hmm.
things going on.
Well, I know the first book reminded me of, if I pronounce his name correctly, James Herriot.
Oh, yeah.
All Things Great and Small, I
Uh-huh.
think. To
I
me,
like
it had
this.
that gentle country feel, and just it was
Oh,
terrific.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, the country keeps going on,
Sure.
and things happen.
Well, among your other accomplishments, you really are responsible for starting the Terroir Creative Writing Festival.
With a couple of other people, yeah, and some other people
There,
besides
there,
that.
there were.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I was asked fairly early on
Oh,
to
yeah,
to
I think
join
you were there in the beginning, weren't
Yeah, I was.
you? Yeah.
But it was really your idea, my view of it was, this is unknown territory.
Right.
Let's try it, and gee, I hope we can pull it off 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been 7. No, this
Yeah,
will be
this
7.
will be the 7th annual Terroir Creative Writing Festival.
Sure.
And so, yeah, that was a year where we were kind of uncertain what we were doing, but we thought it would be good to do it.
Well, and either fortunate or
Mm-hmm.
your influence or something, we have had terrific speakers and
Mm-hmm.
presenters.
Yeah.
You want to recall a few of those anyway?
Well, over the years, in the first year, we had Ursula Gwynn
Mm-hmm.
and Molly Gloss and other people, and then you were there, and Ellie Gunn was in it
Yes,
the
I
first year, a
remember.
local writer.
Sure.
Other people, I can't go through the whole list for all the years, but over the years we've had excellent speakers, and this year, let's see, who have we got? Our morning keynote speaker is David Mason, who was lived elsewhere and is a well-known poet, but has some connections with Oregon now, and so he is coming here to talk about poetry. In the afternoon, we're having Sean Levy, who for years was a movie writer for the Oregonian, but he's also published a number of books on Hollywood and Jerry Lewis, Rat Pack stories,
boy,
and so on,
yeah.
all of that, and knows a lot about Hollywood, and he's going to talk about his journalism in that area. let me remember who all we had, but we keep expanding the program. And so this year we're going to have I think this is going to be very fun, a panel of romance writers from the Rose City Romance Writers Group.
Sure.
And this is one of the most friendly areas. When I've run into romance writers.
Well, you wouldn't want an unfriendly romantic.
No, but they also want to bring in lots of other people. They are so open. They like, come on, we'll teach you how to write a romance, and you can be writing
that's
them
great.
too. You know,
Sure.
and they really are good for people and very sociable and all that. And I think that's going to be fun. So if anybody's interested in that, be sure and put that one on your list. We have Josiah Phillips, who's a Shakespearean actor with the Ashland Company and who lives up here, and he's going to talk about reading your work aloud and other things. And so we've got young adult, so on.
Sure.
How's our time?
We're doing fine. Before we run out of time, I wanted to ask you, though, you talked about expanding. We've expanded now sort of out of that one day into workshops.
Right, right.
And maybe to say just a word or two about that.
We got a grant, a community grant to offer workshops throughout the year. And I am not the one to ask for the details about that, but Emily Grosvenor and Tandy
Yeah.
Tillingham are working on setting up that schedule. And so our first one actually is one on blogging, which if people are interested in that or have an organization, you should sign up for that one with, I think that's starting this week, isn't it?
I think so.
I think so.
And I was going to say, for more information, then they could go to, I think, Terroir Creative Writing Festival 2016.
Right.
And I think that there is additional information there.
But we've got such great people. We've got, I was going to say on the program, we've also got William Sullivan this year, who writes guides to the out of doors and stories about his outdoor hiking. We've got Lisa Olin Harris.
I love her work.
Yeah, a whole lot of good people, and Ed Edmo,
including you.
who's going to talk about the art of storytelling. Ed is a Native American storyteller, and he will be there. So. And that makes me think that putting the word out about the festival, you don't have to be a writer to sign up for it. There's plenty of entertainment and meeting writers and finding their books. So there are workshops, but there are also readings and so
Well,
on.
there are, and of course, I am a writer. I love writing and the creation. But I think my pitch was that if you love to read, and I think there's probably certainly more readers than there are writers, it's so interesting to find out the process. I mean, I'm not a filmmaker, but I love watching movies or documentaries about how a film was made and what decisions are made. What's the criteria for keeping or cutting a scene? How is the plot advanced and so on?
Yeah.
And I think if you never wanted to write a thing, but you're a reader, this would be a lot of fun to come to.
Oh, yeah. You can be entertained all day long. And it's a very modest cost. And if you register before April 9th, you can get a discount.
Sure.
So for people who are, go on to the Arts Alliance of Yamhill County, the AAYC page or the Terroir page, and look for all the details, because I'm sure I'll forget something that I should tell you.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of information there. By the time this airs, it'll be too late to enter for Paper Gardens. Because we talked about AAYC. But in fact, I think it's in May that the presentations are made, so that'll be fun.
For the Paper Gardens.
Yeah, you betcha.
Yeah, I don't work on that, but I admire what they're doing. I'd love to see all the locals come out with their work. Yeah, that's great.
All right. Well, Barbara, thank you so much. Again, I love your work. I love the inspiration for the terroir. I think 7 years now means it's pretty established.
Yeah.
So we invite people to come to that.
Do I have time to just say one of the things we hoped for was that we would find out more writers, make this a a good community for writers to be working.
You
And
bet.
I think that has really worked because I keep running into writers around here. And
Yeah.
just
Well,
as
don't
you
hurt
do.
them, but it's good to run into them.
Huh? Yeah.
So thank you, folks, for watching. And again, if you have a suggestion, a guest that you'd like to see, a topic that you'd like us to cover, you can reach me through my website, stephenwlong.com, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks.